Okay. Well, so so anyway, this is fun. This is a Wednesday and the first time we're doing this on a Wednesday. And of course, we don't know if anybody's going to pop in because a lot of people have been invited. But we've had so many really great conversations lately about a lot of different topics. And I was wondering, was there anything today that was on your mind that you wanted to talk about or continue from an earlier conversation that we had?
Well, let me look. And it's interesting because I never prepare for anything. So I don't think about, and this is how I live life now. There's right there something to talk about, is how I used to always think, oh, what am I going to think about? What am I going to talk about? How am I going to handle something? And I really don't. I'm very in the moment. And I find being present in the moment and aware of the dynamic within my body and picking up whatever is there to say and being present is a much more connected conversation than coming in with my little character, with the little things that this person wants to say, and the whole thing's planned out. And there's not a flow or a spontaneity with that. And when I do it this way, and I stay present and I don't go into fear, because sometimes I'll go into fear. Like somebody will say something and I'll go, oh, if I stay present and I tell this person what I'm really thinking, it could go south. And so what I'm practicing is saying what I'm really thinking. And sometimes I don't, sometimes I'm quiet, but it just really staying on that. It's like a free fall of being in the moment in conversation, and a free fall, and let it go where it goes, and just trust that no matter what turn it takes, it's ending up in a place of the unknown, which is, I think, what humanity has been conditioned to avoid. The unknown. If we just stick in with it and go with the free fall and keep being present and keep being authentic and self-accountable in the communication, then it'll go where it goes, and we don't know where it's going to go. And what an exciting dynamic that is, to live in the unknown rather than planning and having everything all concrete and I know how this is going to turn out and all that.
Yeah, and living in the unknown, I just thought of the fact that how we have, what did Joe say? Dr. Joe Dispenza, who you and I both love, says we have like 60,000 thoughts a day or something, and very few of them are new, they're repetitive. So we're having known thoughts over and over and over.
Yeah, and Byron Katie says patterns. She says the same thing. There are no new thoughts. My mother didn't love me. My father abandoned me. My boyfriend, it's just constant repetitive thoughts in the collective mind. And when we move into the unknown and tune in, so I'm tuned in, present, feeling what's going on in my body while I'm talking. So if I fear arise, I could even maybe, as I learn to communicate that, wow, what you just said triggered some fear. I can feel fear rising in me. I'm afraid that if I tell you what I think, you're not going to like me anymore. Can you imagine that level of spontaneous, free-falling, authentic, self-accountable communication and not knowing where it's going to go?
I love it. That often, it covers a lot of things. Being in tune with what's going on within me, then authentically sharing with you what's going on within me, regardless of what you might think, right?
Yeah.
Just being authentically me. And that is kind of stepping into the unknown right now. I know I didn't learn to communicate that way. I can't recall if I've ever met anybody who demonstrated that the way I've experienced with you in our conversations. And and the way I experienced, you know, when I started going on the BNL calls initially, stepping out and being authentic with just what was going on with me.
And being self-accountable as well. So if I say, wow, what you just said really triggered me and I'm feeling fear, I'm not, the self-accountability doesn't expect you to fix that, because that's not about you. It's about me that I'm feeling fear. You know, I make up that people are going to ban at me if I tell the truth about something I think they may not like. And then the other person can, but say it anyway, and say it with love and authenticity. And then the other person may respond, well, I am angry. That is offensive. And then it's like, oh, okay, I'm scared. Let's sit for a minute. Maybe sit in silence for a moment while we both process. I think it's especially at least one person being aware in a conversation is good, because being present with the way I can overcome my fear. If you said, oh, I am pissed off, angry at you, Jenny, you know, but you said that it's offensive. And I'm like, wow, I can get why you would be offended by that if you heard it the way you heard it. But that's not what I intended, you know, and just that only one person staying present is needed to bring both, but it's exceptional if both people are present and both people can be self-accountable to their own dynamic.
Right.
And they're for each other through that. Can you even imagine that level of intimacy?
That would be great. And I'll tell you what, something came up with me, for me, as you were saying that, a judgment. Well, that person who took offense, you know, then is playing the victim, and gee, how do you think you're going to have any communication with them? Boom, there I made that other person wrong.
Yeah, rather than
made that person wrong.
Rather than, wow, my fears came true. You're offended. Let me be with that a minute.
Yeah.
I mean, look, and it's a multi-dimensional point of view too, because I'm looking at myself, where before I used to just abandon myself and be there for the other person. Or I just be there totally for me, and how dare you, you know,
Yeah.
make my fear come true. And then it would be attack. But to be able to be there for me and not diminish what I'm feeling while I'm getting why you would see that. Hey, if I were you thinking and believing what you're thinking and believing right now, I might be offended too. And it's just this present. There's no room for thinking. There's no room for being offended when we're present with the free fall of what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And I hear, you know, I also hear compassion in your answer, not only for yourself, you know, but I hear compassion and understanding for another person's point of view, for where they are at their point of life and what their perception of life is.
Yeah.
Say that clearly.
Yeah. And this is a target, like this is a vision for me. I still am practicing applying it, because I was telling you the other day when I had a friend who said something I didn't like, and I don't tell me what to think. And so I'm still watching the dynamic of that happen. But what a beautiful vision, what a goal for me to say, yeah, that's what I did. Now let me look and be here for myself that I reacted that way. And be kind to myself and see the meaning I had given that, and how I felt like I had to stand up for myself with this assertiveness. And maybe I did, maybe I didn't, I don't know. But I've had conversations with other people where I did stay in that present, and I did stay very, very there, and they turn out so much different. They turn out connected, rather than, I've got my boundary now, great. But when one wins, the other loses. If both people aren't winning, and I can be the one, I can hear me and you, to have both people win. And they turn out so much different, because I'm being heard by me and you're being heard by me. And it's lovely if two people are doing that, but it's only one is needed.
That's true. I'm reminded of the story that Ram Dass told about being on I think it was, I don't know, on the train or the subway or something, and the belligerent drunk who was causing problems, and he and his, maleness, he was going to go up and put a stop to it, and instead of, I don't know if you call him a shaman but an evolved spiritual person, right? What ended up kind of, I don't know how it happened, but he ended up like resolving it by just extending so much love to this. And this man was drunk. And when you're drunk, you're impacted, your brain's impacted, your vibration is impacted, but it didn't matter. I mean, I'm just saying physically, it didn't matter. The love that this man extended to this drunk had the drunk in tears and with his head in his lap and telling his story, and just as gentle as can be, and it was with love. And so that's what I'm reminded of when you're speaking right now about that kind of communication and where you're coming from.
Yeah, and I look at why would I not do that? And there's a part, because when I can feel into the why. It's like in the space kind of, and it's because there's a fear of being loved too much. And if that, it's kind of like, if I was that for everyone and everyone loved me, how would I be alone? How would I have my me time? And it's again looking at, just because people want to be around me doesn't mean I need to be around them. And that there again goes to coming out of what I call my Saint Jenny Jesus mode, where, I had to be everything for everyone. And that I don't have to do that, because that's not loving to me. And again, we go back to authenticity again. And that, who was it that said, let me disappoint you?
Cheryl Richardson, Coach Cheryl Richardson. That was the chapter of the chapter in a book, The Art of Extreme Self-Care. Let me
really practicing that level. Let me disappoint you with the truth of my answer. And a lot of people think truth are opinions. I think you're ugly and that's the truth. No, that's not the truth. That's my opinion. Truth is I'm afraid, or I'm feeling like whatever, and I'm calling you ugly instead, So yeah, authentic in our truth. And sometimes it disappoints, and then just be present with that disappointment rather than defensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a phone call today from a friend, the one that I had messaged about, hey, do you want to have lunch at, Thursday or Friday? Tomorrow, Friday. And she called me when I was out on my walk. And so I thought, that she was calling about that. And so I chatted a couple minutes about it, and about my current situation, and might not be available Thursday after all. So, and I said, so is that why you were calling? She said, well, not exactly. She said, actually, we're having dinner here Friday evening, and then we're going to do drumming afterwards. And so I called to ask if you'd like to come, and which is great, wonderful. But I do not like to drive after dark when I have to drive on highways, high-speed highways. And there's no way to get to her house without driving on high-speed highways. My vision is not as good. And I know I have guardian angels, I know it's not, I'm going to die and stuff. I'm not comfortable. My vision isn't as good. And so I took, and so I was honest with her, and I didn't hem and haw and say, I just said, you know what? Yep. I said, if it was Saturday, if it was like a Saturday lunch, I'd be there in a minute. If it was during the day, I'd be there. But I do not like driving at night. And she didn't say, well, why don't you come, and do you want to spend the night on the couch? I might have considered doing that. but she didn't. And I'm not going to say, but if you invite me to spend the night on the couch, I'll come, because then again, that puts somebody else on the spot, right? Although they can say no, or no, that doesn't work. We don't.
Yeah.
But
I took this class where they taught us how to ask unreasonable questions.
oh,
Be unreasonable. It was really fun. And it was a leadership course. And our homework was to ask unreasonable questions, such as, oh, can I sleep on your couch? And go ahead and do the impolite thing, because look at the programming of how polite we're supposed to be, out thinking ahead what somebody might want to answer, and we might make them uncomfortable, and we might this. And it's again that strategizing to protect what outcome, that they might say yes, put us on the couch, and then be angry. What outcome are we strategizing, protect ourselves from? Because that's what it's always about. And when I was living on the edge of unreasonableness, and I remember asking somebody to buy my lunch. Oh, would you mind buying my lunch? I mean, it had to be crazy like that. Can I sleep on your couch? Hey, can I borrow your car? Ask these unreasonable questions and be surprised with the outcome.
And okay, first of all, I really like that, because it gives more than one person an opportunity to grow, because you as the person practicing, then the person that you request, like if you said to me, oh, can I borrow your car? Then I have the opportunity to go authentically, I'm not real comfortable having people borrow my car, and being okay with disappointing you.
Yes, and I get to be okay with
being saying no, and not feeling bad, and not taking on guilt. No, I should have, and type of thing. Oh, and by the way, as far as spending the night on her couch, that didn't even occur to me at the time. I was just saying that now, that if she had asked, hey,
be unreasonable and call her up.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. I'm going to call and say, I'd really love to join you, but I don't drive at night because of my vision. And all I need to do is I'll just bring a toothbrush. I can just sleep on your sofa. And
I'd have something. And then we also get to deal with disappointment if people say no. How do we deal with disappointment and our expectations? How do we deal with people who say yes, and we know they don't really want to say yes? But I say, you say yes, I'm going to go ahead and take it. And then if they get angry, well, I'm sorry that you said yes when you didn't want to. I hope that works out better for you next time. It's just to not be micromanaging other people.
Exactly.
In order to protect myself from some unpleasant outcome that I think might happen.
Bingo. And it's even the concept of micromanaging someone else, it's insulting in a sense to them, that not trusting that they're a big adult, and they can, and they can decide for themselves, and they're on their own journey, and they are when we see them as divine, that they're just like the issues I'm having, with the mass. These are just innocent children who are asleep. That's all they are. I mean, if I want to put a label on them, they're not wrong for who they are. Nobody is wrong for who they are.
They're thinking and believing what they're thinking and believing. And if we thought and believed that, we would also be doing the same thing.
Exactly.
And this is the third dimensional creation, is we believe our thoughts, and that creates these experienced realities. So we're all doing it. We're all asleep. It's what we're supposed to do. We fall asleep, and then we remember that we created this by thinking and believing. And ours are just, we like ours better.
That's true. I like mine better than a lot of others I notice that I see. That's very true. But theirs works for them. Or else they wouldn't be doing it.
And mine worked for me when I was, if I'm in fear and I'm, thinking and believing that and living that experienced reality. That's the nice thing about when we wake up. that the fact that we are creating our experienced realities by what we're thinking and believing, then if I'm experiencing one that I'm not enjoying, I can actually alter it by changing, going back to the original thought that created this experience that I'm having. So, but I've watched also too, how I used to be afraid, and I'm still a little intimidated by very loud, angry people, but I'm getting better at it because I'm learning to just be present and walk away or do whatever I need to do now. But I used to control my behavior in order to manipulate their mood. And then I called them the controller who was manipulating me. But who was manipulating me? I was manipulating me and controlling my behavior so that I could control their behavior. If I walk on these eggshells, then they might not blow up or get angry. So I'm controlling them by controlling me and then blaming them. And when I saw that, I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm a master manipulator. And who I used to call a narcissist, I called him a master manipulator, but I don't know if he is or not, that's none of my business. And this is where we get all caught up in thinking there's anything over there other than my own perception. It's not my business he's a master manipulator. What would I care if I wasn't manipulating? I would just be, oh, please leave. I don't feel like being yelled at right now. And if you don't leave, I'll call the police or I'll excuse myself or whatever different choices I make. Then I don't care what he's doing when I'm taking care of myself. It stops mattering.
I hear that, and I reflect back on the last boss I had, and how that walking on eggshells, and he would, be, where's this file? And instead of going, dude, I put it right there, you don't need to yell at me.
Yeah.
It's right here. Okay.
Yeah.
Or whatever, instead of, here it is, and then being irritated because he had it all the time, but he was going to yell at me, but I never called him on yelling at me.
Yeah.
I was afraid
so
it would
many
cause problems, and and that's the way I am that's the way I would be with others as well. So I hear you. It's like, oh, I'll just be real quiet, and I'll be just such a good girl, and then he'll be happy, and then he won't get upset. And
there's so many ways to handle it, but one is, dude, why are you yelling at me?
Yeah.
When it's right there. It could be, you're obviously quite angry, and it's not all right that you yell at me. Or what I was saying when I had a friend that was yelling at me, it's like, what? Like, curious. I mean, there's the boundary, there's assertiveness, there's different choices, but it's like, why do you tell me? Why do you think it's okay to yell at me? Have I obviously let you think that this is okay? Well, from now on, it's not okay, because we teach people how to treat us.
That's what we do. That's exactly what we do. And speaking of teaching people how to treat us, I've taught my cat that she can interrupt me anytime so that I open the door for her. So instead of pausing recording, because, well, I could do that. Shall I try it? Shall I do a pause record and then jump back in, and let's see if it pause recording. We will be right back. Boom, record.
Yay!
Hey, yay!
Oh, good job.
And I left the door open so that she can't come and pause for me to come and open the door for her. So if she comes and irritates me again, it's going to be just because she wants direct attention. So,
yeah.
It's funny, this stuff we're talking about, it relates to something. I had written this down as far as what I thought would be an interesting thing to talk about, and that is dropping our identities, and which for me is everything from my limiting beliefs, i.e. what I believe about myself and my personality and who I believe I am, and the identity of, I've got this degree, I'm an expert in this, I've researched all of that, I've been doing this for 30 years, and so I'm very experienced at it. To dropping the identity of, I'm this person who caters to people who walk on eggshells. I mean, it just really seems to be all interrelated, that how we identify with our patterns. And
yeah, and there's so many layers. I remember the first layer for me was, you're usually the profession. I'm a woman who does this and this, that kind of thing. People say, what do you do? That's the first question at the dinner party, right? So that superficial layer of identity. And then I'm a woman, and then it can go as the personality traits that I think I am, like nice, good Saint Jenny Jesus who can never lose her temper, but by the way, here's this monster over here that loses the temper, and that's cool too, because now I'm boundary setting. So now I'm a new identity. And to even us being human beings in bodies, it gets just deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And that is the fun of creation. It's the fun of creation, is creating these identities. So the programming, where the body becomes programmed and it starts acting out this person, is the fun of, right from source. And then we come in and create these experiences, these third dimensional or solid experienced realities. So having a character is part of creation. It's part of the fun of being in this seemingly form. It's when we identify with it as us, the essence, the isness, the amness. I am this. And then we forget that we just made it up as part of the character. So I don't think anything's wrong with programming. I think it's the mechanism of how we create our personalities and our characters. Where the wrench got thrown in the works is when the programming didn't work, like I'm a loser, or I'm not a good person, or I'm not worthy. The programming function is working. It's the program itself that when we realize that it's a program, and then how do we rewrite that program? How do we rewrite the character? First, we have to realize, disidentify with that as being me. That's a program. Then rewrite the belief pattern, the thought and the belief, to rewrite the program. And now this is the new me. But the fluidity isn't that I can keep changing, because I know that I'm the program writer, that I'm not identified with that as me. It's just who I'm being right now at this time.
right. And yeah, and I was thinking about oh gosh, was it Janie I was talking to? Something I can't remember, where I was saying about my inner bitch. And even owning that, and there's nothing wrong with having that inner bitch. I don't call on her to hurt people. You know what I mean? There's one thing to recognize that sometimes I have bitchy thoughts, and they're usually temporary, just. And there's another thing to say, well, I'm upset about something, so I'm going to go and bring somebody else down with my words,
Yeah.
Yeah, because in one case it's kind of fun. It's kind of, oh, I'm this character internally. Oh, oh, I'm a bitch. Oh, I'm a woman with a baseball bat's going to beat the shit out of my bed. Oh, and just embodying it, whatever it is, in my experience, and then going on to something else. I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's something, that character gets very powerful with itself. It feels empowered. And so the characters are just playing it out. It's when we label them good and bad. This is a good one, this is a bad one, and this will make you like, and this will make you be rejected. And so when I make up that I'm not supposed to be something, and then somebody calls me it, like, I don't know, like stubborn or selfish or something, and I'm not supposed to be that, that's a bad thing to be. Only, good people aren't that. Your kitty wanting out?
No, I apologize. She's just being a pest. she's scratching at the window. She got up in the cupboard. That's why I looked over there. Then she came over here and I was holding the cupboards closed. She's just being she's just being a character.
Being a character.
She's just being a character right now. And I'd love to say that this isn't like her at all. I just don't know where it came from. But, it could just be the energy. It just could be this higher exciting. I mean, I'm finding it exciting and enjoyable. And it's like, she just might want in on the fun of the energy. I don't know. She's a cat.
Yep. It's animals love it. Animals love it. So, I was saying something about the right, wrong character. So if somebody would say, you're being selfish, and I wasn't supposed to be that, because that would mean I would get rejected or abandoned or unloved, unlovable, or whatever that meant, bad person, bad, then I would say, no, I'm not. How dare you say that? And what I've learned is, and I'll say this too sometimes when people are telling me something when I'm talking on the phone. So I ask myself, can I be okay being that? And immediately the charge comes off. It's amazing, this resistance of, I'm not selfish. And it's like, whoa, can I be selfish? And then it's like, it's okay to be selfish. And the charge. And then when somebody says you're being selfish, it's like, oh, I know. Like the other day when you're not being nice, you could be more compassionate. Well, I'm not nice. And you know what? I'm a lot happier. I can be that rather than arguing with the person. I'm not that. Have you ever been in a conversation with somebody when you tell them that they might be something and they just argue with you because they cannot, they will not, they won't be that? That's like, only bad people are that, and I'm never that. And but you can clearly see they're being it. Like, I don't know, I can't think of something as a concrete example, but
well, and I don't, when I'm in conversations with people, if I notice something and I'm going, wow, they really seem like they're being blind to something, like, oh, this guy, there's red flags or whatever. Now, if I saw some really serious red flags about a guy and this guy says, oh, and I'm dating him, and I'd go, did you know he hit on me? Now that I might do. But there are times when I just go, not my business.
yeah, absolutely. This is more like if I'm watching people have a conversation. I have a friend who she doesn't know how her conversations land a lot of times, and they can be quite aggressive and dismissive. And then the other person, and I've seen this happen on the phone and in person because I've known her for a while, and the other person will get angry and say something rude, and then she'll look at me and go, why are they being so mean to me? And she has no idea that she attacked first. And so that's what I mean, is things like that. She cannot be that person that attacked first and can't get that. And I know I definitely did that. There were certain behaviors that I was not allowed to have. And I guess that's why they call it shadow work, because it was a shadow. I was in denial about it. And the freedom came when I let myself be it. When I just, yeah, I am being selfish, and I'm either going to continue being selfish, or I'm going to look at it and go, you're right, I can see that. I'm going to give that up. So is it working or is it not working? Not is it good or bad? Sometimes it works to be selfish.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it doesn't. But it's not a good or bad trait.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, like sometimes selfishness is appropriate when it's about, I mean, whatever you define, like I would define it as being self-care,
yeah.
being authentic, to what I'm alone so much of the time that there's not many people who could, as far as the trait of selfishness go, oh, you're really selfish. It's like, well, I'm always alone, so it's not like I'm with people and then being selfish, so it's tough. But then there's the being selfish where I'm not considering another person's feelings or another person's needs, if I'm in an intimate relationship with them, if we have some type of agreement to be, maybe to be there for each other, but then I'm never there for them because all I'm doing is I'm getting what I want, and then not being there for them when we have kind of an agreement. Like for me, friends are there for each other. That's what it means to me to be friends.
Yeah.
You know, that
And then
we're
you
there for
go,
each other.
yeah, that would be like monogamy, like I'm monogamous, right? And then we navigate what that means to each other. So friends are there for each other. We've got that agreement, that mutual agreement. Now let's navigate what that means to each of us. Because one might mean that means you give me all your money whenever I ask you for it. You know what I mean? So we have the agreement, we're there for each other. Now let's navigate what each one of us means. And sometimes it's still a yes and a no. But you know, so these agreements are funny things. Monogamy for me, does that mean you can't have, you know, my partner wouldn't be able to have female friends? Absolutely not. You know, monogamy means that we've agreed with our heart, mind, and soul that we are committed to each other. We'd have to discuss it. What does monogamy mean? Right? Right.
Yeah, when you're
Then
talking about like money, you know, and you're talking about money and selfishness, and I got a request from someone for to assist them, not to give them money, but to kind of front some money and then it would be repaid. And I just wasn't comfortable with it. And it's not like we were close friends, but, and it's not like, oh, the money would, if I lost it, I'd be broke, or, you know, that it would be devastating. But I just wasn't comfortable. So a person could say, oh, you were selfish because you didn't extend yourself. But you know what? I just didn't resonate with doing it.
Yeah, and selfish, I think, is one of those overused labels that mean whatever the person who's saying it thinks it means, but it doesn't. Like you were saying, it could be self-care. Selfish could be that I didn't call to let my friend know I was running late. Inconsiderate. Selfish could be mean inconsiderate. There's so many different words for this one little label, selfish. There's just means nothing. But I was going to say something. Oh, money. Oh, how we, I know I used to think I had to have a reason to say no. And I learned, you know, like I would give money away. People would ask me for money and I just hand it to them. And then they wouldn't pay it back. And then I had learned a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. And because I thought I had to be justified, I had to have a reason. And I didn't want to be selfish, right? So, and if I'm wealthy, that means I should share. So not being wealthy, but having more than someone else means I should share. Otherwise, I'm living in the illusion of lack. And that's not true either. I started practicing, if I had, I don't know, $5 million and somebody walked up to me, could I tell them no? And I would practice in my imagination telling them no, because freely giving means freely giving. It doesn't mean I have, so I should. And if it feels like you said, it didn't resonate with you, it just didn't feel right, that alone is enough for me. I practice even driving down the street and we have people panhandling, you know, asking for money. And I used to look away because I would feel embarrassed and guilty not giving, even though I was struggling myself, trying to raise 2 kids alone. And so I would just look away. And then I started practicing looking at them. And I'm telling you, my body sensations screamed, just on fire, looking at them, feeling all the guilt and I should, and not doing it, and just looking at them. And I practiced that for a while till all this body vibration diminished and went away, dissipated. And then I can just look at them and not feel anything either way, which a lot of people would think, oh, that's so cold. But it was such a freedom for me to be able to look, not make anything up. all this is, it seems to be a person who's asking for money, and I either will or won't give. And the neutrality of that was freeing, because now I feel that when I get that impulse to give, it's a divine impulse. It's not my old programming, giving when, I don't know, the guy could go shoot up and kill himself in an hour. Not that even that's my business,
Right.
because it's just not. So all I'm saying is I'm having a divine impulse when I'm not run by the programming of the sensations in my body, feeling guilt and shame and shoulds and all this other stuff. It's just clean.
Yeah, and that guilt and shame and shoulds have been programmed into us. I was watching a recent video by Lori Ladd, and she was talking about we're just born into this world where that programming is already going on. It's not like we came into this perfect planet and then in my infancy or childhood I created all the guilt and shame. I was born into that generation upon generation of programming of guilt and shame, and it's all a lie. And so yeah, when I'm, I hear you when it's, oh, I should, which comes from guilt. Somebody else, you should feel bad if you don't do what I say you should do or whatever. Then that's not that's not being generous from the heart. That's not really giving. That's oh, I don't know what you, I'm sure the vibration and the calibration of that is very, very low as far as frequency. And I know, gosh, back in the 90s, I don't know where I learned this, but it is a truth. I mean, it's something I truly believe. Either give with love or don't give.
And even love is tricky, because when we
I meant divine, because when you say that's divine, that's what I meant. Give with love, not, oh, I'm in love with you and stuff. No, that divine
expression,
that
of
divine
love.
expression.
Not I have and you don't, and you poor little miserable thing, I'm going to go ahead and bestow my riches on you because you're incapable of getting them yourself, rather than compassion. Let me give this to you while we, and believe that you can too, or whatever, or can, what I mean? Like our demeaning way of giving, and we call that charity. That's another thing I was looking at, like, wow, giving as the sun gives. Giving because as the flowers bloom and the wind blows and the waterfalls give water down the, giving, oh, I have money and I have this divine impulse to give to you. It's none of my business what you do with it, because that's a free gift. And this kind of giving is what's come out of dealing with all that other programming of charity with love, and I'm better than you, and I have to give to you because you're this crippled little messed up thing that can't go. How insulting. I've had people give to me like that, and it's so demeaning to receive when someone feels that they are bestowing their charity on you. It's extremely demeaning, because as a single, raising my kids, single mother, I've had people give to me both ways, all three ways. I had one person give me money and then get upset because I didn't buy the food that she thought I should buy, because we were out to lunch and she wanted me to buy different food for the kids than I chose. Like, you can't get grilled cheese. You should have gotten this, because she paid for it. So I've had controlling givers. I've had demeaning givers that I felt lowly to receive, but I needed it, so I took it anyway. And then I've had generous sunshine givers that just are smiling, and I give, and what a great feeling. That's what I aspire to, is to give like that. Yeah,
Exactly. And the other end of that is the being willing to receive, because I like to give, and when I lived in Bisbee, I had friends and family members, and one, well, stepbrother, and then his wife, so stepsister-in-law, and she she just didn't want to celebrate her birthday, and no, it's no big, and I love to take people out to lunch for their birthday, right? It's fun. It's a celebration. I mean, that's why, I love it when somebody takes me out for my birthday. It's just kind of fun. And I mentioned that to her one time. I said, when you like turning people want to give to you and then you turn them down, you're not giving them the gift of receiving, because it feels really good to give when a person wants to give. It
Yeah.
feels really good to give, and you're denying them that pleasure. And she ended up turning around her ideas around it.
Isn't that
Um,
amazing? Yeah.
yeah, because that's the thing. We again, we play small, or actually kind of, oh no, little me, oh no, don't give me anything. No. Again, I don't know what's behind that, because I don't do that. So I don't relate to it, but there's something
I
behind
was
it.
taught, I was taught to do that too. It was false humility, and it's better. It's the whole where I was raised. It's better to give than receive, and all that stuff. And if you're receiving, it was either you were giving or you were taking, and so it was better to give than receive. There wasn't like a category for receive. And when I was a kid, I had a paper route, and it was fun when I was 12. It wasn't so fun by the time I got 14. But that's a whole nother story. But I remember when we would go and collect, and we were told, do not take tips. You're here to collect the money. Don't let people give you tips. And I let them give them to me anyway, if they wanted to. But I remember my brother putting his arms behind his back, and they were trying to give him. They said, just like, it was like $1 or $2. Just take the tip. No, I'm not. No, I'm here to serve you.
Oh,
And well, this is what he was taught.
that's what he was taught. No, I
And he
understand.
didn't understand. I could see it. And that's why I didn't do it, because I could see how hurt that person was and how frustrated they were in wanting to give. And if he was there to serve them, then serve them by receiving. Right. And so I learned a big lesson. It's so amazing how the universe shows us things like that, it's not a judgment at other people. It's information for me. It's like, wow, look at that disappointment, and look at this, and this is what I don't need to do that, and it was such a beautiful lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you go back to, I don't know, I'm sure this is in the scripture somewhere. It is the Father's great pleasure to gift us. And I don't know what that wording is, but that's the sentiment, like the creator, which is actually us. I was thinking about that this morning. When I was on my walk, I was just thinking about the joy of being the creation of the divine, but I'm also a creator, and then it's all in one, and I'm the creator who created myself to experience this and then to create more things. And
It's
therefore, I'm the earth, I'm the trees, and I was back to that, and that in my innocent, unprogrammed, or state, I am nothing but love and light and joy and compassion. It's not that I am compassionate, I am compassion,
Yes,
right?
I'm not loving, I am love.
Love. Yeah.
Yes.
And go.
And when I realized that I am the creator, then it's like me giving to me. So self-love is, nurturing this self-love, because I'm giving to me. I'm giving to me by the gift of breathing. You know what I'm saying? It's so hard to describe when you realize that you are the creator and the creation, that you're the nothing and the everything. That just with one thought that I'm believing, I create worlds in my consciousness that I'm experiencing as realities. And the level of loving myself is the level of the dream I'm going to create for myself.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly. And a lot of, and a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then we have little things that trigger us and we can go, oh, look at that. I'm triggered. Let me just breathe into it. Right?
Yeah.
Let me experience what that's about.
Learning to follow. I read this book. I think his name was Michael Brown. It was The Presence Process. And I had to read that book, man, 15 years ago or 20 years ago, probably. Long time ago. It was The Presence Process. And it taught me how to take a thought that had an emotion and then go into the sensations, the vibration of it in the body. And it was about being present. And that's how I learned how to go from what am I thinking, what am I feeling, what emotion am I feeling, into what sensation am I feeling, and following that creation to the vibratory level in the body, and just being with that. And then I can just drop the story. And so the story is there. The emotional trigger is there to get me to the story. The story is to get me to the vibrational. You can go in any way. You can go from emotion to what's the thought, or what's the thought that has that emotion, and then follow it into the body, and then just be with that and throw the rest away. They're just there to bring me here. They're just the messengers. And then be with this in the body. This is the thing I'm overeating to not feel, or drinking, or smoking, or running, or getting busy and being a workaholic to avoid feeling, or saying I'm not that to avoid feeling this. And when we just surrender and be with this and be that divine present witness, I am there for myself. My witness, my presence is source being there for me. I'm being there for me by just witnessing, unconditional, without judgment. Just the unconditioned present awareness. Unconditional, unconditioned present awareness, being there with whatever energy is stored, and then it releases. It either release in a chunk, or it'll release by dissipating or unraveling or whatever, but it'll leave when we're finally there for it.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, with the no judgment, just being with it.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Curious observer.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting that my body's buzzing? It's interesting that it's buzzing and I'm hyperventilating. I had I think I told you this, I had a lot of eating, compulsive eating. And it took me about 10 years to sort through, back in my 30s. And one of my first agreements, I read this book called Breaking Free from Compulsive Eating. And it was talking about breaking the guilt cycle. So I made a deal that if I sat with whatever I was experiencing, when I say feeling, I mean sensations, because it's not emotion feeling, but what I was feeling in sensation. I would be with what I was feeling in sensations. And I would set my timer for like a minute. I could go and eat anything I wanted. And I'm telling you, my body felt like it was on fire. It was so like electrical and like anxiety, but without not anxiety that you feel like you're dying of a heart attack. It was more like just electrical. And I would breathe, and I remember breathing. And when the alarm finally went off, I'm like, oh, and I turned the alarm off. Okay, I can stop feeling that now. And you know what? I got up to go in the kitchen cabinets, and there wasn't anything I wanted. That was the first step of me breaking out of that. So I increased it from a minute to 2 minutes to 5 minutes to, I was so bad I couldn't get in the shower without a cookie outside the shower curtain. It was just,
Yeah.
I would use sugar to bring myself up as an upper, and I would use it, carbs and sugar so that I would crash, and then I could go to sleep. So then it was my downer. I didn't know I was using it that way until after the fact, and then I saw the mechanics of it. But yeah, that was one of the first steps of getting present. And today I'm noticing that if I don't stay present when I'm eating, I get nauseous. It's like last night, I wasn't present. I was thinking of the lovely day, and and I got sick in the middle of the night. And it's because my body is saying, you will be present when you're eating. you will be present. And it's just what's happening right now. So so tonight I was very, very aware to be present while I was eating. Just pay attention, and when you're done, stop. And I feel great. So that's my body lesson for this week.
You think?
Yeah, who knows? Yesterday and today, you will not go unconscious. Or pay the price for it.
Yeah, you can talk about the yeah, I don't know how many days it's been since I finished off the cigarettes. It's been several. I'd have to look it up to see when I bought the last pack, because I'm not counting them. It's irrelevant. The only moment that exists is right now. But it crosses my mind. It crosses my mind when I get when I get triggered or challenged or whatever, things aren't going my way, and well, I might as well just go back to smoking and drinking, because this all sucks. But luckily it's very brief. Right now it's very brief. And so I haven't needed to, it's just that pattern. It's that dropping that pattern. And so it's almost like, the body's addiction to that behavior is it's like the body wants to run my life, i.e. my subconscious wants to run my life, and so it can be a challenge, and it also can be exciting and rewarding. And so far I haven't had anything of I'm going to go get them, where I, like you say, and I'm going to remember that what you said about the timer. If I get that urge, I'm not going to just get dressed and grab the keys. I'm going to sit down with the timer for at least 1 minute and just
whatever sensation you're
be present with what is going on in my body. That sounds like just wow, what a great approach.
It got me here. I mean, I used to cry. I used to wish I was addicted to drugs, because you can't cold turkey food. And you have to eat.
Yeah.
And now I'm so grateful it was food, because how empowered am I to overcome? I used to sleep because and when I would wake up crying, because it was obsessive compulsive about the next meal I was going to be eating. And then after lunch, what was I going to have for dinner? And I would cry just to shut my brain off. I mean, I would go to sleep just to shut my brain off. And when I wake up, I would be crying because I couldn't stop thinking. And so it was quite a journey. But that was one of the first things I did, was put my fork down between bites, get away from the TV. That's what the book recommended.
Yeah.
Those two things. Put the fork down between every bite, put it in, put the fork down. And it took discipline, because put it down and don't watch in front of TV. So I would still daydream. I would still go unconscious, but at least it wasn't the TV, like just, I would have moments of being awake. But that vibration in the body thing, that was the real kicker. That's when I started being there for myself.
Yeah, that is just terrific. So you know what? We've been talking for an hour, and I know that sometimes we've gone as long as 2 hours, but I don't think we want to record a 2-hour conversation. Well, I mean, we could, but
that's good.
Yeah, we got lots of stuff.
Always, it always does every time we get together.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm going to stop the recording, and then we'll talk about what we're gonna get down and dirty bitches, like what we really are when nobody's watching. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're not gonna say don't throw that shit on me?
Oh God, no, I can be a bitch. I can totally be a bitch. I accept that within myself. The sacred bitch. That's not so sacred sometimes. You got her. Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So just in case we post this somewhere, thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah,
you guys.
Jenni and Candace saying, thanks for watching.